Hey guys, Jordan here with Team J's Classroom Fun, and welcome back to my series about literacy stations. Before I get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss out on any future content, especially in this series. So this is the third video I've done on literacy stations. If you missed the first two, feel free to go back. And this one's going to be all about the management piece. So the management piece is big with literacy stations, and this can honestly sometimes make or break how it goes. And one of the big things I want to say, and I kind of touched on this in the last video, is that when you're doing something new like this, you have to give it a chance and you have to give it more than one time. The first time you do stations, it might be a little rough. It might feel a little chaotic. But if you do it a few more times and you guys and you and the kids both get the routine down, I promise you it'll get easier and smoother as it goes. You just need to give it a chance. So let's get into it for today. So like I said, I've already done an introduction video and a station setup video, and today we're talking all about the management piece. On my next video, we're actually going to start diving into the actual stations and what you can have kids do with them. These literally will be ideas that you can take and implement in your own classroom. You can tweak, you can differentiate, change them up as needed. So what we're going to start with today is management board ideas. So one of the things that you need to think about ahead of time is how are kids going to know where they go during literacy stations, okay? They need to know, are they at this station today, this station today? Now, you could let the kids pick their station. I like to have a management board just so I can make sure they're rotating and they're not just going to their favorite station every time, or that they're always stuck at the same station. So I like to have some kind of management board. This is one that I made many, many years ago. It's actually in my TPT store. I'll try to link it. And it shows the kids where they're going. So I have little clothespins on either side that have the kid's name on it. And then all I have to do is move it down when they're at the next station, next station, next station. This way, again, they're constantly rotating through. And this shows them specifically what station they're going to. So if they forget, or maybe they were out of the room when you told them where they're going, they can look here. This is another management board idea. Now this picture's a little old, so I'm sorry for the grainy photo, I guess you could say. But for this one, what I did is this is when kids went to two stations. So you can see I have one station and the next one next to each other. And I actually have a little index card on a magnet. And all I do is move the magnet down each day. And then this way, like the kids know, okay, Johnny and Susie, you're at the top two stations. Becky and whoever, you're at the next two stations. And then all I have to do is just move it down each day. So having a management board like this helps you stay organized so that they, again, like I said, they rotate through the station and they don't go to the same one multiple times in a week. Because if you're moving them through this way, they're not just always at this one, because again, that's when they get bored. Here's another one as well. So this one is when I kind of simplified and did less stations. This one, all I did was put on magnets, like reading station, reading response station, spelling station, or whatever I had. And then the kids are index cards and I just move them down each day. You could use a pocket chart. You could use the whiteboard like we did, some laminated cards. And you also could make it digital. So this is another one that I've used, and this is a nice one because it combines the I can and where they're going. And so for this, I actually had where I'm like, okay, table 1 and 2, this is your station today. Table 3 and 4, this is your station. You could do that, or you could obviously assign specific kids to work in a group, depending on what you need for your class. So let's talk about grouping kids in stations. Now, obviously, as we know in these situations, the smaller the group, the better. But we also know that class sizes are quite large, so that's not always a possibility. Ideally, yes. Would you love to just have 2 kids in every group? Of course. But is that probably going to happen? Not necessarily unless you have a ton of stations, which you definitely could do. And I have done before in the past, but you don't have to. So 3 to 6 students in a group, the smaller, the better. I think oftentimes I have about 4 to 5 kids in a group, but again, it kind of depends on your class size and your student needs. For grouping the kids, I group them in a lot of different ways. So one of the ways I look at grouping them is based on data. Like I said, we use FastBridge at my school. We also use School City. We have Scholastic and Foundations. I also have phonics screeners, classroom observations, spelling screeners, all kinds of different things that I use to kind of see what their needs are to help group them. Oftentimes, I will group them based on strengths and areas to work on. So I might have a group of kids together that are working on phonemic awareness, and they're together in a group. That way, when I pull them from their station, they can come work with me on that skill for teacher time. Okay. Personalities and behaviors also need to be taken into account, right? We all know that some students work better with others. We all know that some students don't work well with certain people. And so you want to keep that in mind when you're grouping kids of how behaviorally that'll work as well. The groups are also flexible. So that's a big thing here. They don't last all year. As you're getting new data and as you're seeing things from them in small group and from whole group and from assessments, you might realize that, oh, this child has this now. Now they need to be moved to the fluency group or whatever. You do not have to keep a kid in a group all year. You don't even have to keep them all week, right? As you see them needing different things, you can move them. They are flexible. The other thing too is it's best to change up the partnerships or even small group, at least once a semester, because the kids sometimes do get tired of working with each other. So if you can kind of mix that up a little bit too, that tends to help. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry guys, I think I've been doing this a few times now. Nope, did that one. Okay, so students can also be paired to help each other. I don't love doing this if I'm being honest, but I have seen this done where you could pair like a student who's a little bit higher with a lower student. I don't really like doing that because I don't really think it's giving either child what they need. So I try to pair students with like abilities and like areas that they're working on. Just because I think then that way I can better meet their needs and then they're working with the group that's working on the same thing. Okay, next up, like I said, behavior. You want to make sure the students work well together. It's going to be really hard for you to pull small groups if you have students paired up that don't get along or that they're getting into trouble, right? It's going to be really hard for you to pull groups. So you want to make sure you're looking at the behavior piece of that as well. Another thing to think about is keeping track of student work. Now, this is completely up to you. Some places I've looked at the work. Some places it's more like I circle around and see what they're doing. Some places I know you need things turned in. So they could complete their workstation projects in like a notebook, like you can see in this example here, or even use a folder to like keep little recording sheets in. They could do that as well. A few different ways the teachers can check the work weekly. Maybe there's a turn in every Friday, they have to turn it in, or daily they leave it out on their desk. I tend to, like I said, as I'm getting ready to pull groups or switching groups, I tend to walk around and monitor. And that's my way of being able to be like, oh, I see you're working on this. Oh, you're doing this. So that's an idea as well. Now, next thing is, how do the kids know what their options are at the stations? Well, let's talk about this. This is iCanlist, and you can tell this was made a very long time ago. And if you can't, that's okay. The fonts that are used on this, whoo, that was a very long time ago. That was like before Jordan knew she could download fonts and make them even better. But anyways, so this is what I used a very long time ago. I had an iCanlist. I would typically have this posted at the station, or you could have it in the bin, and it literally tells them, okay, at this station you can do this, and they have to pick one of those choices. For this as well, especially if you teach younger kids, kinder and first, you also could use pictures, and I'll try to show some more examples of that later, but you could even have pictures of like what they're doing, especially for students that are still working on the reading aspect. Another thing you could do is task cards, and I've done this before where like each card on there has a different I can, like I can read with a partner, I can read by myself, and each one has a different one. So you could do that as well, and then the kids will take the task cards to their station. And like I showed you a few minutes ago, you could also do it digitally. So this is where I have this up on the projection board that we have, and it literally tells them, here's what you can do. You can do this at this station, you could pick one of these at this station, and so on. Okay, real quick, just to kind of get you guys ready for the next thing, let's talk literacy station ideas. Now, these are ones that I have actually all done before, depending on the grades I've taught. So some of them obviously are geared more towards younger grades than older grades. And I will be giving you ideas for these over the next few videos. So reading station, super easy one, highly recommended. Spelling station or word work, depending on what your school does. Vocabulary station, a writing station, reading response, fluency, iPad or some kind of technology station, again, depending on what your school has. Informational text station, a listening station, handwriting station, ABC station, making words, around the room, and then Boggle. So again, as I go over these, you'll see that some are obviously geared more towards certain grade levels. So obviously you'll have to differentiate based on the grade you teach and the students you have. So that just gives you a little sneak peek into some of the station ideas of stations you could be using in your classroom. And I'm sure there's more than that. This is just a small list of ones that I've used. So in my next video, I'll be sharing some ideas for what you could do for a reading and a technology station. So make sure you stay tuned for that, because it'll be ideas that you can easily implement in your classroom. And then I'll be sharing more as we go. So make sure again that you like, subscribe, and follow. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down in the comments, and or you can message me on Instagram at Team J's Classroom Fun. Talk to you later.